mean,
That's quite cool.
likewise.
I guess one thing I was wondering in that, because you're doing a lot of stuff with voice and flute, like it's a similar apparatus, like it's kind of here and it's all sort of, at least the way you were playing flute, a lot of percussive breathy sounds, which is kind of what can come out of your face me anyways. Like, how do you, for this kind of playing, does it become, is it like one thing that, or do you still think like voice flute, like what, where is that instrument when you're doing this kind of playing?
It's a little bit of both, both as in having two separate things and having a one thing that goes together, and like I try that to just be me. But I've felt gradually in the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, like move more towards the voice. And then it becomes a little bit of, like reminding myself that a flute is there in a way. So there's definitely like a joint apparatus of like, yes, all the breath and percussive stuff that comes from the voice, which is maybe a very fluty voice technique, and then using the tube as a filter. And then with a little bit of other noises that come out of that. And then becoming very used to this specific mic, just playing with that as well. So yeah, in a way it's about reminding myself that I have these things that are separate things while it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, even like what you mentioned there, like it because some of the sounds that like you're making vocally are in a kind of a flutish thing.
Yeah.
So that the thing, like what I hear is the flute during some of that. I mean, I wasn't watching over, but like I could tell was the flute is a filter. So it's still like you're kind of the sounds that you're making, but then modulated through that, tube, essentially, which is kind of a cool thing. Like it's cool for me hearing how like the blur of that and being able for largely differentiate what's each category. But then there were some territories where that was a bit fuzzier in terms of both the sonic result, but then even just thinking on it, like conceptually, it's like, it's not flute or voice, it's some kind of other thing, which is kind of like for me, a lot of the things that I do, particularly with this friction stuff, the drumness is a bit of an abstraction, it's not, I mean, there's some sounds that are like percussive drum sounds, but there's a lot of stuff that isn't. So like where sounds begin and end and the acoustic and the electronic begin is a nebulous area in a way that I think is similar to what I was hearing here, but like purely acoustic in this context. Yeah. I guess another thing I was kind of wondering about is the, I guess, sense of like time and like how you negotiate that. Because like obviously almost everything you're doing, like there's purely percussive stuff, but most everything you're doing requires breath and lung, right? So that like demands a certain kind of cadence and stuff. And I guess one can circular breathe. I don't know how effective that is on flute.
You can circular breathe like on a note.
But for like the high wind flow,
for the kind of stuff that I'm doing, I think it's more about little tricks to like sneak in a breath or doing some things that are inhaled. So like you can do like and then you took a breath.
And is because some of that, like obviously that has a sound to it itself. Was your incorporation of things like that as a way to tap into that specific sound world, and or was it, or rather, or was it more about cheating the like phrase cadence?
I mean, I think it's about. I think I am very often attracted to having a certain flow, or having a certain like, okay, we're going and we keep going for a while, and whatever way of maybe, cheating, or like just finding a new sound that you make to fill in that, that sort of fast-paced, type of thing that keeps going is, for example, one thing that I'm sort of attracted to and thinking of making happen. And then, of course, there is a repertoire of inhaled or semi-inhaled or a pop after which you get to take a breath type gestures. So yeah, I sort of flow in both sides of that in a way.
Yeah, it's an interesting one to think about, because like obviously for a lot of this stuff I am breathing, but my breathing is not attached to the sounds I'm making. But there's still a physical requirement that punctuates things. So sometimes like I grab different implements at some point, and that requires some kind of consideration as to how I'm going to do that. Like perhaps if we're in the middle of a gesture, I'm not going to be like, oh, it would be great if I had that. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing to do that. I have to kind of like consider the musicality in the moment and the sort of combined gestural language to find like, okay, now I have an ebb that I can do something in. This is just a couple scales of time greater than like the breathing one. But it's a similar consideration of like, I have to do like, you can do a percussive thing and then you have some time to breathe. Or, if you're doing a long sustained thing and you're not in a position to do any kind of additional circular breathing, it needs to musically kind of consider, like, I guess you're at a smaller scale thinking of that, like almost like scuba diving, like, you kind of like,
a little bit of that on the breath side. And I think there's also like small and obviously one bigger physical transition of like, I am thinking a lot about how close I am to the mic, or what angle I am, how much the air from the flute is going into the mic, how much I'm just like avoiding the mic so it's not blowing air into it. So there's those physical transitions that also require like, okay, which one am I doing? And then obviously like the big one was, sort of whether I'm doing this, which is also about having that mobility, and some other tricks with the head joint, but that also is that feels a lot like, okay, and I'm grabbing a new instrument, and there's no way to do this completely quietly. Of course. It's sort of like,
I guess you could have some kind of like cough button type muting thing, but it's
yeah, exactly. So there's always that like, oh, is this the moment that I do? Like, do I do it? Maybe. And then other things like doing a sound, like covering the hole here completely and then letting air out through the other holes of the flute.
Okay.
So that also has a sense of, maybe it's less audible with just one mic, but for me it's like very much like, okay, I hear sound here, I hear sound here.
Yeah.
And that has its cadence as well.
Have you done stuff with like additional mics around the outlets?
Not on the flute itself. I've done like some like studio recording with 2-3 mics.
Okay.
And that was very nice. But I haven't tried that for like live performance.
Yeah, I don't know if I've heard it with flute. A friend of mine, Sam Andre, has done some stuff where it's like sax, but a hyper close mic. So like multiple mics here, multiple mics at each things, multiple mics at the bells, and then having them very isolated, very hard panned, and then similar percussive quiet language, and it becomes very like deconstructed. Like it no longer sounds like a single object. It's like this thing.
You can use multiple mics to spatialize it. That sounds really cool.
It sounds super interesting. I don't know how much the physics of that would be. Like I don't know enough about like the sound holes and like the.
I mean,
because I guess fingering is the same, but I don't know if the
sound's still going to come out of here. But if I if I cover it, then you literally will get a sound out of whichever is the first hole open. So that might be fun.
It's an interesting sound. I was mainly curious just because I hadn't really considered because obviously if you have a mic and you're blowing down into it, like that's a specific sound. So like having that as a controllable parameter, or like you might do that for your embouchure anyways to get slightly different tones, but like similar to how like a singer might like do this while they're singing.
Yeah.
I guess
Definitely playing with
yeah. Which is something I hadn't considered. Prior, like if you're not having the DP and you have just like a standalone mic or whatever any other circumstances you perform with, how much of that is like, are you able to internalize that conceptual thing? So for example, like if there's like a condenser mic in front of you, you can obviously move forward and back, but that's a different, like here,
Gesture,
I guess,
right?
I guess the gesture is this, right? And like
I mean, it is very different. I am definitely very accustomed to this setup, especially because like how intensely directional this is. So like, it's very nice to like move around this and hear it and sort of have that very responsive relationship with the instrument. So some of that is gone if you just have another mic. But then I think I have still a lot of flexibility on the more vocal end of things if I'm only thinking vocally, I guess. At least that's how I've experienced it.
Yeah.
You still have like that sort of close farness. But for the flute stuff, it feels like, okay, it's more of a stable thing in a way. Especially because it's just a lot easier to just, with my sounds, blow air into it.
Yeah. Yeah, an interesting side effect, which I hadn't really thought about it, I guess is a bigger part of what you've thought about with this, is that the sound for us playing in the room now is different than the sound of this recorded, in that right now in the room, I hear you mediated through speakers as well.
And also me. Yeah.
Yes. Whereas in a recording, that doesn't exist. It's only the mediated version.
Yeah.
So it's kind of because I do like the sound of the intimacy you get from similar to what, like it's an amplified intimacy of the gestures that you're doing in the acoustic space.
Yeah.
Whereas the recorded version of that becomes flattened because it's only a recorded version, which is kind of cool to think that like this is different from what a video of this will be, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. Shall we play a bit more?
We shall.
Yeah. If you'd like to support the making of these videos, please join our Patreon. The link is in the description below. Thanks for watching.